Hi everyone, I am Jeff Lawton. I'm going to look at a game from the recent Chess24 Banter Blitz Cup quarter-final between the world champion Magnus Carlsen, who was playing white, against Swedish Grandmaster Nils Grandelius. And Nils is 95th ranked in the world at 2651, and he's actually was one of Magnus's seconds in the previous 2018 World Championship match against Caruana. So it was a 3-minute game. Magnus opened with d4. We had knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, and Grunfeld. d5, cd5, knight d5, and we had e4, knight takes c3, b takes c3, and bishop g7, and bishop c4, c5, so knight e2 going down the main line. We had castles for black, and now a move which Magnus has played, or this sort of idea, against MVL last year in the Grand Chess Tour semi-finals in London. We had cd4, cd4, and knight c6 attacking the d4 pawn, bishop to e3 protecting it, queen a5 check. So this is all theory. King f1. Obviously white gives up the right to castle, but on the other hand the rook is sort of along this line, and he intends to play h5, sort of softening up black's king side. But it's not the sort of chess you want to play unless you really know what you're doing for white. Most players prefer castling. So we had b6, which, as far as I can tell, might be a completely new idea. The move that MVL played against Carlsen in London was bishop to d7. But in this game we had b6, probably intending to go here. So Carlsen played rook c1, preventing that, because then white could capture on a6 and then capture on c6. So we had bishop to b7. And now white carried on with h5, which is the point behind going h4. We had rook a to c8 developing, and now f3. So white's idea is to sort of tuck the king here, sort of more safe here, and then to sort of continue with the play on the king's side. We have bishop to a6, and now h6. So at this point, Carlsen made the comment that he decided to play positionally, because he was met with been met with a new idea for black in the position to play b6 and bishop here so early. So he decides to try and bury the bishop, which is what makes the game. Even though it's blitz, these guys are really good players, and they do things in 3-minute chess that a lot of us wouldn't be able to do over the board, to be honest. And it's sort of what makes the game instructive is how he sort of plays against the bishop. So we had bishop h8, we had bishop captures on a6, queen captures, and then king f2. And now we had knight b4. Rook takes c8, rook takes c8, and now queen b3. And it was actually in this position that Grandelius, I think he was 6-1 behind at in the match so far. So he was, understandably feeling a bit demoralised, and he just didn't consider this move, rook c2, and then it's actually winning for black, as it turns out. The only way to protect the knight is rook e1, and then comes knight d3, followed by taking on e1 with a winning position. But it's a blitz game, so even strong grandmasters can miss these things. So instead of that, he played the sort of thematic move, aiming to eliminate the white bishop. And then Carlsen played e5, and as he explained, after knight e3, his idea was king e3. I think again it's like one of those moves which is obvious to Magnus Carlsen, it seems, but it's very difficult, I think, for a lot of players to understand that the king is safe here. But again, his main idea is simply playing against the bishop. That's the idea between behind these two moves, e5 and h6, is to cramp that piece in particular, almost try and play like you're a piece up almost. So then we had e6, so rook c1. You know, if your opponent's effectively a piece down, one strategy is to trade off. We had rook c1, knight c1, and now queen f1. But while Nils was thinking of this move, Magnus was commenting that he was a bit concerned about queen c8 with the idea of maybe queen f8 as well as hitting the knight. So his first point is you're attacking the knight, and the second point is to come here and then attack, because once you eliminate this, you can get your bishop back in, and in fact, black could then get a decent sort of position perhaps out of it. And Magnus said his intention was to go king here, and after queen f8, then to play queen here, protecting that. Still with a better position for white, really. But in the game, we had the move queen f1, which Magnus said wasn't so good. And then we had queen c2 with the immediate threat of checkmate, or c8. So black's in difficulties already. So we had queen g1 check, king d3, and now the king came to f8 because there's no choice for black. He can play queen f1, but then the knight does an extremely good job of protecting the king from queen checks. So we had king f8, and then knight e2 first, queen takes g2, and queen c8 check. So white wins the bishop on h8, but also he's got a very strong passed pawn here, and that's the second point, is that not only is he a piece up, but this pawn is very close to queening once white can capture this. And the third point, as Carlsen pointed out during the game, you know, he makes comments, as both the players do. You could also watch Nils' stream, which I would recommend. Actually, it was good fun to see his reaction to what was happening during the match, playing against basically one of his friends, really, Magnus. But the other point is that as I was saying, the knight does a fantastic job of shielding a king from queen checks. If you're not used to, you haven't played much chess before, it's hard to understand that. But if you just fiddle around with the king and knight and the queen a bit, you can see that the queen is not able to, you know, easily deliver perpetual, which means repeated checks, so the opponent can't escape. So we had queen f3, so that's the first check. Now king d2. Now straight away, if you have a quick look, you can see there's no more checks here. The knight is covering the f4 square, so you need to put the queen somewhere else. So Grandelius chose queen a3. So Carlsen wasn't worried about queen h7 because he knows the patterns that the knight shields the king from the queen. We had queen a2 check, king e3, another check on a3, and now king f2. So this time the king's danced the other side of the knight, and again there's no more checks. So it's got no choice but to try and bring the queen nearer to the king. Again, the queen's quite happy, even though it's not so near its own king. Queen g7, queen f5 check, king e3, queen g5, king d3, and again we can see that the queen is stopping, the knight's stopping this check, so there's only one check left on f5, and now king d2, and again you can see there's only one check, this time on g5, which is what was played, and this time king d1, and again there's no more checks because this time the knight's covering the only square, g1. So therefore, in this position, because well, you can try and go back round again, but it doesn't help. White can simply carry on escaping. It's just like going around the same loop almost. So white's about to queen the pawn. So Nils resigned on move 38, and this took the score to 7-1 to Magnus. And an instructive game, I thought. It's a 3-minute game, but highly instructive. So I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching. Bye now.